Hello and welcome to today's edition of Press Review here on Luntha Television. Today is Tuesday, the 9th of August 2022, and in this edition will be with me, King Mage Kamindo, and my colleague
Bernard
I hope you're okay, Mr. Manza.
Yes, I'm fine. How are you?
I'm good.
Great.
Good. Okay, so as usual, we'll be taking you through both publication of today's papers, The Nation and
The Daily Times.
Okay, you may start with the Daily Times.
To begin with, on the front page of the Daily Times, there is a story which says Court favors Nankuma, and the whole story is on page 3, and the part of it says the High Court in Lilongwe has sustained an injunction that 22 Democratic Progressive Party DP members of Parliament obtained challenging the appointment of Mulanje South West Legislator George Chabonda as leader of opposition. Nankuma lawyer Michael Gobert Peda confirmed the development. In his ruling, Judge Kenyatta Nyirenda said, in the meantime, facts before the court were in favor of Nankuma, who joined the case as the 23rd claimant and is the current leader of opposition.
All right. It seems like wrangles in the DPP they're yet to be over.
Yes, I think they are yet to be over. It's time that the House, rather the DPP, has to put its house in order.
All right, on the front page of the Nation newspaper, there is a story which says RIP off, and it says consumers are still paying 1 billion water monthly in agricultural tariff long after due cancellation. Partly, the story says, despite the agricultural should be genset power supply contract being terminated in April this year, consumers are still being charged tariffs for the services. The Nation has established that the agricultural tariff has not been removed, and the Electricity Supply Corporation of Malawi ESCOM is still charging 3% of electricity that it had applied for following the agricultural deal.
Right, still on the front page of the Daily Times, President Chakwera wants security agents checked. President Lazarus Chakwera has called for empowerment and a minimum level of understanding of legal matters among members of parliament so that they can put security agents in the country in check. Speaking when he presided over the official opening of the 2022 African Bar Association conference in Lilongwe yesterday, Chakwera cried that for a long time, bureaucrats have hidden behind the laws of state secrecy as a security precaution to hide information from the public and thereby breeding corruption in the process. And
my second story is being found on the 4th page of the Nation newspaper, and this one says media houses operators cry foul over market tariffs, and the part inside the story says Minister of Information and the Digitalization Gospel Kazako has called on Malawi Communication Regulatory Authority MACRA to address challenges facing the communication sector. Speaking yesterday in Luntha during an open day when MACRA engaged the operators and the public on its regulatory services, the minister said he will ensure that the authority is run according to the strict code of the rule of law.
Another stories are also appearing on the 3rd page of the Daily Times. 4 million people to face hunger. An integrated food security phase classification analysis released this day indicates that between October 2022 and March 2023, the food security situation in Malawi could deteriorate further, with 3.8 million people expected to face high levels of acute food insecurity. The number of districts classified in crisis, which is IPC Phase 3, is also expected to increase from 6 to 21 out of 28 districts analyzed. In comparison with the past 5 years, the analysis shows that this year has the highest number of acutely food insecure population, which is at 3.8 million, followed by the 2018-2019 consumption year, which had 3.8 million, and the 2021-2022 consumption year at 1.4 million.
Alright, moving on the 8th page of the Nation newspaper, there is another story there which says MCP-TPP intensified by-election campaign, and the story says Malawi Congress Party MCP and Democratic Progressive Party DPP have intensified a by-election campaign, should be campaign rallies in Rupembe Ward in Kalonga Central constituency. Speaking on Saturday during a rally in the area, MCP Deputy Secretary General Kathleen Gotani-Hara, who is also Speaker of Parliament, asked the people to vote for the party's candidate, Erisha Bwinga.
Alright, moving on the business part of the Times newspaper. Economic shocks to persist, experts fear. Pressure is expected to persist on Malawi and other developing economies as most developed countries in the Eurozone and the United States continue tightening their monetary policies to contain effects of Russia-Ukrainian war. Global economic think tank, the Economist Intelligence Unit, forecasts that the Federal Reserve of the United States will raise rates by 250 basis points by the end of 2022. It expects the European Central Bank to also discontinue its quantitative easing program at the end of June 2022 and raise rates 3 times this year and 5 times next year.
Alright, and in as far as business news is concerned, in the Nation newspaper have some. The first one says NBM half-year profit hits 22.1 billion kwacha, and partly the story says National Bank of Malawi NBM PLC has posted a 22.1 billion kwacha after tax profit in their half-year ended June 13th, 2022 financial results show, and the half-year profit has risen from 12.8 billion kwacha reported during the same period last year.
Another story, academia wants policy on toxins. The Natural Resources College, NRC, under the Long University of Natural Resources, University of Natural Resources, Rwanda, has called on the government to come up with a legal framework that will govern the issues of toxins in crops in the country. The call comes in after the institution launched the first ever state-of-the-art McGovern-Dory mycotoxin laboratory that will help in test food for academic and child nutrition programs. NRC Dean of Faculty Limbikani Matumba said the country needs a policy on toxins since it is located in tropics where toxins breed due to the weather.
Remember, if you are just tuning in, we are giving you some of the stories that are appearing in both papers, The Nation and The Daily Times. And for today, you are with me, King Mage Kamendo, and my colleague,
Bernard Manza.
Moving on, I have one more business story before my colleague goes on to other part. And which says the Fuel Price Stabilization Fund building up. That's according to Meira, and it has a caption which says the fund will cushion consumers. Malawi Energy Regulatory Authority Meira says the Fuel Price Stabilization Fund (PSF) is now building up a development which offers hope to as consumers could be cushioned from future price hikes. Speaking in an interview yesterday, Chief Executive Officer Henry Gajaja, without indicating how much is currently in the fund, said the current developments in the fuel industry have not necessitated the regulator to use the PCF as it is building up.
On the sports, that's the back page of the Daily Times. Nothing to show. That's the main story appearing on the back page. Team Malawi stuck with 3 bronze Commonwealth medals. Medal drought to reach 40 years. Team Malawi's drought for a Commonwealth Games medal will extend to 40 years from 36 following the team's poor performance at the just ended 2022 Birmingham Games in England. Stakeholders have blamed Team Malawi's failure on poor preparations and lack of sound policies as the country last won medals in 1986 at the games that were held in Edinburgh, Scotland. Analyst George Kaudzamasina said expecting a medal from the Commonwealth Games was a wish which was impossible to achieve.
Alright, and on the very back page, of course, the same story also appears, which we with a different heading. This one says medal drought rages only, and I will take another one which says farm spoils beach soccer players. And part of the source says Football Association of Malawi Farm has spoiled beach soccer national team players. Soccer should be national team players with special bonuses of 500,000 kwacha each following Malawi's qualification to the beach soccer African Cup of Nations finals. Malawi booted out Tanzania on away goal rule after winning the first leg 3-2